In order to effectively light a scene, it's going to be important that you know how to control just how far into the distance each of your light shines. That control comes with something called attenuation. You'll recall in a previous video that I mentioned that by default a computer light is designed to basically shine on forever. The only thing that would stop its illumination would be if its shadow casting option was turned on and then something got in its way. A better way to reel in a light's distance is to instead apply attenuation. To demonstrate how it works, I'll start with a file named attenuation spot. Looking on the left-hand side of the screen, you find a spotlight sending its illumination toward a handful of boxes that I've placed on edge. The perspective view on the right will see that from an angle. So as of now, all of the objects are equally lit irrespective of their distance away from the light source. Let's see if we can't instead have the light appear to decay or fade out as it travels farther into the distance. To do that, we'll select our light, then head over to the Modify column in the Command panel. From here, we're going to want to open up the first closed tab named Intensity Color Attenuation. The attenuation settings have two different controls, one called near attenuation, the other far attenuation. The near attenuation controls the point at which the light begins to shine, which doesn't have to necessarily be right at the light's origination point. The far attenuation controls just how far into the distance the light travels. Both settings are important, but I think we should first get a handle on controlling how far down the road our light shines. That's the far attenuation. So let's do this. To activate it, click on Use. Now look how dark the shaded view has gotten. Why don't we activate the perspective view, then turn on active shade so we can see the actual results. Okay, now the reason things are so dark can best be explained by looking at the spotlight on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll notice in the spot's cone you now have two rings, one light blue and one dark blue. The light blue or farthest away ring controls how far the light actually shines, so no light is being cast past that light blue ring. The dark blue ring, a little closer to the actual light, controls how far the light stays at 100% until it starts to fade or decay away. In between the two rings, the light goes from full strength to losing its light altogether. So the reason the perspective view is currently so dark is the light right now is not even casting up to the first box in line. Let's see if we can't change that. Now over on the right-hand side, you'll notice under far attenuation you have both a start and an end range. The end range is going to be that lighter blue ring. Let's change the value on the end to 350. Now look what that's done. It's extended how far the light shines into the scene, and in doing so has now lit up the first two rows of boxes. Let's extend that even further by typing in 500. Now even more of the front part of the scene is being lit. Let's now take the end range past the last box in line. We'll type in 600. So now each box is being lit, but the boxes to the rear of the scene aren't getting as much light as the ones closer toward the front. With the start far attenuation, this is how far the light stays at 100% strength. Let's take the start to 250. Now you see the front part of the scene light up even more because the light is staying at full strength a little bit longer. Let's change the start to 500. Now the light is staying at full intensity past the fifth row of boxes in the scene. And you can see that's done quite a bit to further eliminate the boxes in front. Let's take the start range back to its original default setting of 80. So with these controls, you can now adjust things back and forth until you get just the look that you're shooting for. Again, to see the full impact of using attenuation, let's turn it off. Look at the difference that's made. Now you can also control when the light starts shining. That's where the near attenuation comes in. Let's see how that works. First of all, we'll want to turn it on, so click on Use. If you look in the left-hand view, the two range bars that control the near attenuation are pretty darn close to the actual light icon. Let's first of all spread those apart and then we'll talk about what they do. We'll take the near end range to 250 and we'll take the near start range to, let's say, 150. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, the start range, the dark blue line, sets the point at which the light begins to shine. So anything currently that's between the light and the dark blue line will be dark, basically meaning the light hasn't started to illuminate yet. The end range, that light blue line, indicates where the light is picking up strength and is now running at full steam. So in between the two rings, the light is feathering up to full strength, starting at a low intensity right after the dark blue ring, then picking up to full strength by the time it reaches the lighter blue ring. Let's now make a few adjustments so we can see its effect. We'll take the near end to 500. What this has done is it's spread the distance the light takes in order to go to full strength. So now on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice the light isn't hitting full strength until after the 5th row of boxes. Take the start range to 265. Now look what that's done to the front part of the scene on the right-hand side. The start range controls again where the light starts shining. So at this point, the dark blue ring is actually past the first box, ensuring that box won't be lit. Let's do this. To further that feathering effect to the back end, let's take the near end range to 600. So what's happening here now is the light is starting to illuminate past the first row, then picking up strength where it journeys to the opposite side of the cone at full strength. So with those adjustments, I think you can easily see just how important attenuation is to controlling your lights. Again, to see its effect, let's turn off the near attenuation. Look at the difference that's indeed made. The attenuation thing also works on Omni lights. This is a file named Attenuation Omni. Let's select the light and turn far attenuation on. Let's now talk about the rings. Now I know they're a little bit difficult to see on the screen, but bear with me. Looking in the top view, the dark blue or inside ring again sets the point at which the light begins to decay away from 100%. The light blue or outside ring controls just how far the light shines, so anything outside the dark blue ring, the end range, won't be lit. To see if that's the case, let's again go to the perspective view and activate the active shade. Let's play around with a few things. Let's take the end range to 100. This will basically ask the light to not shine quite so far. And you can see that in the rendered window. Let's now take the end range to 300. As you can see, the outside ring now goes past the last teapot in line, illuminating everything but in a more decayed way. Let's now take the start range so it's just outside the light source. We can do that by typing in 25. You can see from that just a slightly differing feathering effect because the light now is breaking away from 100% a little closer to the actual source. Let's now take the start range to 150. You can see the difference there. Now set it to 250. So now the light powers a little farther down the road, being that it stays at 100% strength a little farther into the distance. There's also a near attenuation you can control. Let's first of all turn off the far and turn on the near. This time around, let's take the start range to 100. Look what that's done. The light won't start shining now until that range ring. Let's also take the end range to 250. And look at the difference that's made. Again, to see the effect of the attenuation, let's go ahead and turn that off. There you go with the various attenuation settings. Now, if you're serious about your lighting, make sure to get all that working for you on each and every one of your projects.